We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
Elon Musk buys up 9.2% of Twitter and gets himself a place on the board. Is this a win for free speech? And what does 9.2% really mean in the world of business? Well, we're fortunate to be joined by economics author and host of the Swamponomics Show, Andrew Moran, to shed some light on the biggest topic of the week. Welcome back to the show, Andrew.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me, Andrew, 9.2% and a seat on the board. How does this percentage match up to other shareholders? And what kind of sway does this give Musk?
Well, the next three largest shareholders are about 8%, 7%, and 5%. They include likes of Vanguard and BlackRock. So this is not a small amount whatsoever. And what's funny too is that Twitter, the reason why they added him to the board of directors was because they were afraid that he was going to buy even more shares and get a greater stake in the company. So that's why if you look at that filing of the
SEC filing limits him to just under 15%, right?
Yeah. They said, you can't own more than 14.9% of the company if you want to have a seat of the board of directors. So I found that, how scared they were of him trying to take over the company.
So that's what Twitter's worried about, really. They're worried about what I guess we'd term a hostile takeover.
Yeah, they have been. I mean, they're regularly concerned about that. If you look a couple of years ago, there was this activist investor called Elliott Fund Management, and they wanted to oust Jack Dorsey as CEO because they were concerned that he wasn't focusing on the company. He was too focused on Square. So out of concern that they would acquire even more shares in the company, they acquiesced to the demands and said, okay, fine, we're going to get rid of Dorsey, but please don't buy more shares of Twitter. So yeah, I mean, but considering how rogue Elon Musk can be and how unpredictable he can be, I guess it is understandable of why a censorship body like Twitter would want or try to prevent Elon Musk from acquiring even more shares.
Well, let's talk about his rogue attitude here. Now, Musk, he describes himself as a free speech absolutist, but he's also a canny businessman, now rated, I believe, the richest person in the world. Now, are there any indicators to suggest that his choice to purchase the shares is ideological? Or is it profit motivated, or could it be a mix of both on that?
Well, he definitely made a huge profit when it was announced because he bought shares on the Friday before the 13G announcement was made, and then that stock went about 33% over 2 days. So he made a killing on that deal. But when it comes to free speech, it's hard to determine if he's going to have much of a say because Twitter already released a statement saying, we're going to focus on what the managers and developers say, not so much on what Elon Musk says. At the same time, I mean, Elon Musk, he's a very public figure. I mean, he'll go on Twitter like Donald Trump and provide all these prescriptions of how he wants to change Twitter, or perhaps he would even say what's going on in workings of Twitter. Before last month in March, he had a poll saying, is Twitter this beacon of free speech, or is it mostly a lot of censored content? And most of the polls said, it's not a beacon of free speech at all. So and what's funny too, in that poll, he had a follow-up tweet that said this poll is consequential. So you have to be concerned now moving forward that everything Musk does is for a reason. That's why it's funny. There was a market analyst a couple weeks ago, and Elon Musk, he was in Berlin and he was unveiling new Gigafactory, and he was dancing in front of the Gigafactory, and this market analyst said, does this dance mean that some specific stock is going to go up or this crypto is going to rally? So everything he does, people are just homing in with a fine-tooth comb or a magnifying glass to see if there's a message in anything he does.
It should be telling then, really, that with news of Elon Musk taking over and his known position on free speech, that the stock price soared. I mean, that was one of its biggest ever growths, I believe.
Yeah.
So shouldn't that tell the other people at Twitter, the controlling board, the managers and the developers, that free speech is the way to go forward? And if they focus more on the ideology of censorship, aren't they doing their other shareholders a disservice?
Yeah, see, that's the challenge you have. I mean, I've combed through a lot of analysis that market analysts have provided, and it seems not everyone is certain on why the stock rallied and if it can sustain that momentum, or if it's just people are going to take the profits and run. Because yes, Elon Musk he claims to be a free speech absolutist, and you want to be optimistic by saying, okay, investors bought shares in Twitter because he really believes in free speech, and therefore Twitter is going to stop a lot lot of his restrictive measures that's employed over the years. At the same time, you think, okay, well, Elon Musk, every time he makes an announcement of whether it's, adding Bitcoin to Tesla Motors or saying he's going to buy more Dogecoin, these things go up. So you just wonder if it's more of a pump and dump scheme. Although I will give Elon Musk credit, he always says that he always pumps up stock, but he never dumps it. So you have to give him credit on that part.
I think one of the most notable aspects of this 9.2% buy-in is that for several years, you've had people on the political left saying that if you want a free speech platform, you should build your own. Well, it seems to me that Elon Musk buying into it and taking the most significant percentage that any other shareholder has, that's really the free market approach, though, isn't it? Instead of building your own, you buy somebody else's.
Yeah, exactly. I made this point in my article on libertynation.com as well, that he avoided the headache and the cost and the manpower and the resources of building this own platform without the guarantee to even work. I made this point. There's a baseball movie, Field of Dreams, that if you build it, they will come. But it's already been built. You change it, so they're already there. Why mess around with it? It just needs a little polish. But you've seen a lot of these, other alternative platforms that haven't done anything at all. I mean, there's so much buzz about them at first, and then as time goes by, this momentum wanes. You saw that with Truth Social. The two executives, they resigned. Getter has internal issues and had problems with his platform. Parler had all this buzz and momentum in early 2021, but then that faded. That platform, the interface isn't the greatest at all. So all these alternatives, the intentions are great, but it's never going to match something like Twitter or Facebook at all.
Well, a couple of points on that. I think part of that drop-off in user base is because of Twitter's actions. So what happens is 10 new companies pop up because they're trying to adhere to a free speech principle that Twitter historically really hasn't. And so what happens is a small amount of users go to each one, and perhaps there's some cross-pollination there as well. But there's no excitement about signing up specifically for Twitter anymore. I think that's one aspect of it. But another one is, and I found this very interesting, is that CNN ran a story on Wednesday, I believe it was, where they were talking about Donald Trump's wealth has started moving back up very quickly. And part of that is because of Truth Social. So it brings us back to the ideology over profits question. Donald Trump appears to have made somewhere in the region of $400 million out of Truth Social, even though it's still, as you point out, it's still not particularly user-friendly ready yet. And it's certainly not ready to tackle any other of the big brands on the market. So I'm wondering if a lot of this isn't about rekindling the profit growth and the user growth at the same time with Twitter.
There was a report, I think it was from eMarketer, and it forecasts that Twitter would enjoy about 8.6% growth over the next 2 years. So there would be some return of users even before the Elon Musk announcement. But who knows? Perhaps a lot of conservatives or libertarians who were disenfranchised with Twitter, perhaps they see this move by Elon Musk and they'll give Twitter a shot again. But there's one thing that Elon Musk should not do, is that he should not add that edit button.
Well, Andrew, as I'm sure you know, good content comes from good editing. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You're listening to Liberty Nation Radio, heard across the Radio America network from our flagship station in the nation's capital, WWRC in Washington, D.C. Remember, you can tune in for Liberty Nation from 2 to 3 p.m. Sunday on KBKW, 103.5 FM, 1450 AM, the talk of Grays Harbor. Later on, we're talking abortion and gun rights at SCOTUS. But after this short break, we ask why President Biden is getting it wrong on every foreign policy decision. We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
We're doing it for real, really real. Liberty Nation.
And Jeff Charles, contributor for LibertyNation.com.
I think we're starting to make an impact. Liberty style, fight for freedom.
The tracking poll sponsored by Liberty Nation for Thursday.
Mentioned by Dan Bongino, Rasmussen, Jordan Peterson, and others.
I can do it again if you want me to.
Cited in Mark Levin's American Marxism.
I think we're starting to make a really big impact. Get noticed. We're doing it. Rock on. I'm gone.